Wizards are one of the most iconic troops inside of Clash of Clans, and it seems like they have just always been in the meta. In the 11 plus years they have been in the game, the Wizards have never received a single nerf, and today we're going to be talking about the history of the Wizards to see just how they have contributed to the game over the years, and also why they will never actually get nerfed. The Wizards were one of the original troops in the game, and they were unlockable at Town Hall 5, where they were instantly used in a majority of different armies. The Wizards were basically just much stronger archers. Plus, in March of 2013, the Wizards were also able to do splash damage, which just made them even better. Armies around this time consisted mainly of the Wizards, Giants, Wall Breakers, and some Barbarians and Archers, but the Wizards were definitely the main part of the attack since they did a majority of the damage and were really the driving force in the attacks. And this strategy was really good, but the Wizards also had another purpose that they were really good for, and that was clan castle troops. And this worked both ways. The Wizards were pretty good troops to have as their defending clan castle troops, but they were also really good to use to kill the defending clan castle troops. The biggest example of this has to be the dragons once you unlock them at Town Hall 7, since pretty much everyone has defending dragons in their clan castle. And it's one of the most annoying things ever. Once you baited the dragon outside the clan castle, the Wizards were really just your best choice for killing the dragons. The only other choices would be the archers, which just didn't do enough damage and you would need a lot of them, which made it not worth it. Or having your own dragon, though that typically didn't work well since the defending dragon would typically be a much higher level because it was donated by higher level players in the clan. So until the queen came out at Town Hall 9, the Wizards were really your best and only choice for taking out the enemy clan castle troops, and even after Town Hall 9, most people still just use their Wizards instead of the Queen for the enemy clan castle troops. And in terms of attacking, the Wizards just got even better. This is because there were a couple of new troops that really worked well with the Wizards, and this led to two very famous attacking strategies. First one is called the Go Wee Wee, which contains the Golems, Wizards, and Witches. This is a really popular attacking strategy at Town Halls 9 and up because of how easy and effective it is. You usually start off with some wall breakers to break into the base, which are then followed by the golems for tanking since that is what they do, and after that the witches and wizards come in for all of the DPS. Additionally, the Wizards are also really useful for funneling in this strategy since they can easily and effectively get rid of the outer buildings to make sure every troop goes where they are supposed to. This attack strategy is definitely in the top 10 most iconic strategies in the game, and I'm sure everyone has at least tried it out at least once. This was one of my regular strategies that I always used back at Town Hall 9. But the second strategy that I mentioned was the Go Wipe strategy. This has all the same troops except that the witches have been replaced by the P.E.K.K.A.s. The wizards in the strategy played a pretty similar role as the last strategy, but they were arguably a little more important since they were the only troop that could actually shoot from a range, which is what made them so crucial, and obviously they were still really good for funneling. And as you go higher up, there were more iterations of these armies with people using ice golems or the bowlers. But wizards are starting to become a little less important and we're shifting more towards a secondary troop role than a primary troop. But this didn't really mean that they were getting worse. Instead, they were just getting used for what they were actually best for at the higher Town Hall levels, and that was funneling. When you think about it, the wizards are actually really special and extremely unique because they deal a lot of damage for the relatively low amount of housing space that they take up, and their attack is ranged. There aren't really any other troops that could compete with that. The closest one would probably be the archer, but that is obviously way too slow for clearing multiple buildings, and it is really just meant more for the builder huts in the corners of bases or other little things. And another troop is the baby dragon, which is probably the most similar to the wizard in terms of purpose, since it is also primarily used for funneling. This is probably the biggest competitor for the wizard in this regard, but it does have major drawbacks such as its housing space and the fact that you can't have multiple of them too close to each other. which is obviously not true with the wizards. This all really makes the wizards probably the best funneling troop in the game outside of the heroes or siege machines. And this transition from being the main troop at the lower town hall levels to becoming a funneling troop at the higher town hall levels is what has really kept the wizards alive and relevant in the game. And they also just fit their functions pretty much perfectly at every town hall, which is why I really don't think they will ever be nerfed. Plus, there also are the super wizards, which kind of serve as a transition for the wizards in the game. While the normal wizards are becoming a funneling troop, the super wizards start becoming a primary and offensive troop in many different armies. In a way, the super wizards really just took over the role of the normal wizards when they were at the lower and mid town hall levels. One of the most famous strategies with the super wizard is a super wizard blimp attack, which puts them right in the core of the enemy base. This strategy really just put wizards in so much power as they could take out the town hall and deal a ton of damage to the core of the enemy base, but there are also much more traditional uses for the super wizards. One example being just the golems in Super Wizard Combo. This was really similar to the previous attack strategies I mentioned with the normal wizards, but now they were also able to be used for the higher town hall levels, which was really nice. This strategy obviously worked very similarly, but what made the super wizards better was that their attack was a chain attack, very similar to the Electro Dragon, and they obviously had more health and did more damage than the normal wizards. This let them basically tear through certain bases, and it was a really good and fun attack strategy to use. And there also was another variation that used the witches and super wizards, which once again brought back one of the older attack strategies, and it obviously was really good. But there was another strategy that I want to talk a little bit more about, and that was the Super Wizards and Yeti's combo. This was kind of similar to the Golem and Wizards, but it was really just designed for the higher tunnel levels and could really dominate all the way at the top around tunnels 14 and 15. This strategy really proved that there was a place for the wizards to be used strongly on the offense, and that it could be very effective if used properly. Unlike the normal wizards, the super wizards actually have received a nerf, but it was only one, and it was quite a big nerf to the level 9 and 10 super wizards, where their damage was significantly reduced. But I think this was a good nerf as those super wizards were really OP, and this just made the game a little more balanced. But since then, there haven't been any nerfs to the super wizard, and I think it is honestly in a really good state right now, and I don't see how or why the super wizards would end up getting nerfed anytime soon. The normal and super wizards have really just been some of the most balanced troops in the game and have found their place at every town hall level in the game. And there hasn't really been any sort of reason to make any of them stronger or weaker, which is why they haven't really received any nerfs except for the Super Wizard. And it's also why I don't think either of them will receive any sort of nerfs in the near future of the game.